Resident Evil is a unique combination of visceral horror and amazing stories that makes each game a completely unique experience. But just how good are the Platinum trophies for each game? Well, I recently decided to get the Platinum trophy for each of the canon Resident Evil games, and while some of them were enjoyable from start to finish, others made me wish that I was waxing the underbelly of a crocodile in a phone booth. Dude, how does this reach that far, man? Man, how is this reach that far? You win, Capcom. You win, okay? I don't want to do it solo anymore, okay? Capcom, you win. All right, you bent me over the barrel for 3 weeks. You had 3 weeks of fun. You had 3 weeks of fun with me bent over that barrel. You know what? I finally broke.
A few inches later.
Okay, and go. There we freaking go, baby. Dynamic duo. Land a fully charged physical attack on enemy at the same time as your partner. And eye on the trophy, obtain all trophies. That is the Resident Evil Revelations plat, baby. Let's go! According to the Resident Evil wiki page, there are 12 canon Resident Evil games that also had a Platinum trophy. Earning the Platinum trophies for all 12 of these games netted me 12 Platinum trophies, 34 Gold trophies, 118 Silver trophies, and 364 bronze trophies. This mathed out to a grand total of 528 new trophies. While the vast majority of these Platinum trophies aren't difficult to obtain, there most definitely is a hierarchy in terms of Platinum enjoyment. Starting at number 12, we have Resident Evil Revelations. Resident Evil Revelations was originally released in 2012 for the 3DS, but was eventually ported to the PS3 in 2013 and the PS4 in 2017. Resident Evil Revelations is the first game in the series to feature more than one group of people that you play as. While playing as these different groups of characters, you will be exploring multiple different environments, including the primary location, which is an abandoned cruise ship in the middle of the ocean. The primary protagonists for this game are Jill Valentine and Parker Luciani. While we all know who Jill Valentine is, Parker is much more of a mystery, and he is introduced in this game as Jill's partner and then never heard from again. Either way, the duo is tasked with rescuing Chris Redfield while he is held captive aboard a cruise ship. Long story short, things go sideways rather quickly, and we learn that the events of this game are the direct result of the Terra Grigia incident. This incident from a few years prior was a terrorist attack that was solved by a 3-letter government agency nuking the town with a space laser. From there, the story is broken up across 3 groups of protagonists that all explain a different portion of the story. Despite most of this game taking place aboard the abandoned cruise ship, the game flows freely between a cruise ship, an Arctic mountain location, and a high-rise office building. While the campaign for this game is pretty good with a decent slate of bosses to fight, all that have different methods of beating them, the game is still a massive flop. This game is a buggy mess with many enemy projectiles clipping through assets in the environment such as walls and railings. But this is far from the worst part of the game. The worst part of this game is raid mode, where you will easily lose 50 to 100 hours if you plan on going for this Platinum trophy. Raid mode is a bonus mode in this game that requires you to kill a certain number of enemies on each reimagined level. The enemy spawns never change, and if you kill all the enemies without taking damage and playing under-leveled, you can unlock a Trinity bonus that unlocks premier weapons parts for your weapons. This is practically a necessity to unlock these premium parts because it's nearly impossible to solo the ghost ship levels without the perks that these parts provide. I mean, I tried my damnedest to solo each level in raid mode, but ended up throwing in the towel after 125 hours of grinding this godforsaken game mode. Honestly, if you were just to go with this Platinum trophy with a friend and take turns unlocking all of the premium parts, this Platinum probably wouldn't be the worst thing ever. And while I did forfeit this solo Platinum trophy, I ultimately ended up receiving some help from an RE Rev veteran that watches the channel and finally was able to Platinum this game. My overall time sink for this game was approximately 150 hours. And this Platinum trophy brought me levels of rage that I will definitely be answering for in the afterlife.
Chris, if I hear you talk about a disco ball one more time, I will buy the biggest disco ball on Amazon and I will personally shove it up your ass. Shut up, Chris. You're useless. You are useless. USELESS.
At number 11, I have Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 3 originally released on the PlayStation 1 in 1999 and didn't receive a Platinum until the remake was released for the PS4 in 2020. Resident Evil 3 puts you in the shoes of Jill Valentine and Poppy Carlos, a duo that ends up being one of the most OP in the series. Unlike some of the other games in this series, you do not get to choose which character you start as, since the levels are scripted in a way that the game flows between them. Either way, you start the game as Jill Valentine when an unknown assailant Kool-Aid mans his way into her apartment and beats the hell out of her. Luckily for Jill, Poppy Carlos shows up just in time with a rocket launcher to knock the man down a peg. It turns out the unknown assailant was the Nemesis, and he has a hankering to turn all STARS employees into a post-2001 call to freedom. Regardless of the melting temperature of steel girders, Nemesis continues his mission to destroy what's left of the STARS unit, and actually manages to come pretty close when he shanks Jill with a poison dart. Fortunately, Poppy Carlos comes to the rescue and literally clears an entire hospital of the undead just so he can inject Jill with one of the last vials of the G-Virus antidote. Once Jill is cured of the virus, she rushes to save Poppy Carlos from the evil Russian dude and is attacked by Nemesis for like the millionth time. This time, however, with her sweet Poppy Cake's life on the line, she makes Nemesis throat goat a railgun and turns his insides into his outsides.
Yeah. Hey, don't worry. I never do this on the first date. It's usually the third or fourth, but at this point, me and you have already been dancing a couple times. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Look at the hole I just drilled in that bad boy.
Good riddance.
That right there's enough to turn a feller on.
With the Nemesis finally dead, Jill is free to save Carlos and escape the destruction of Raccoon City in perfect Resident Evil fashion, via a heartfelt helicopter ride. I personally got the Platinum for this game in less than 10 hours, and yes, I definitely felt cheated by how criminally short this game is. The fact that this game is a glorified DLC for Resident Evil 2 is the real reason that it ranked so low on this list. Not even watching Jill Valentine force Nemesis to throat goat a gun the size of a Prius for a second time was able to redeem this one.
Oh, look at that! That's game, baby! That's freaking game! Oh, you did throw that laser cannon, baby! Okay, it's dead. It's dead. That's it. I'm at 114. Hit me with them. Hit me with them. I want to see all of them pop. I want to see 10 pops in a row. Let's go. Dominator. Complete the game on Inferno. So long, Raccoon City. I popped the trophy before I got the rest of them. The rest of them didn't even pop.
Sitting at number 10 is Resident Evil 6. As if anyone is surprised that Resident Evil 6 ended up in the bottom 25% of this series, Resident Evil 6 originally released on PS3 in 2012 and was eventually remastered for the PS4 in 2016. Despite its low ranking in the series, neither version of this game should actually be considered a bad game. While Resident Evil 6 might be a bad Resident Evil game, it certainly isn't the worst zombie shooter that I've ever played. Resident Evil 6 has a grand total of 7 protagonists that you get to play as, and each of them have their own storyline that interconnects with one another. You have a zombie survival campaign that features Leon Kennedy and Helena Harper, a Call of Duty-esque action shooter campaign with Chris Valentine and Piers Nivens, a hybrid campaign that kind of mimics both of the previous ones that feature Jake Mueller and Sherry Birkin, and finally a stealth shooter campaign that has you playing as Ada Wong. This game is as close as it comes to a Resident Evil cinematic universe, and despite the story being drip-fed from each of these campaigns, it's pretty solid in its own right and culminates in a great ending. For the most part, you discover that the main villain has staged multiple C-virus outbreaks across the world so that they can unleash the world's deadliest virus in China.
China has identified the cause of the
Mysterious new virus.
The platinum for Resident Evil 6 really isn't that hard, and the infinite ammo being so widely available in this game makes professional difficulty just as easy as normal difficulty. This platinum takes 30 to 50 hours to complete depending on how efficient you are, and includes 25 unmissable story-based trophies, which means that there are only 26 trophies that are not tied to beating a specific level or beating the game on a specific difficulty. I'm not joking when I say that none of the trophies are all that hard. The only hard part about this game is beating it over and over and over, because this is one of the most repetitive games in the series. And honestly, there's only so many times that you can find a specific number of key cards without wanting to put your fist through the screen.
Oh, she's turning into the semen demon.
All jokes aside, why do horror games insist on bosses being formed by sticky, white, viscous fluid?
Oh, there was a ghost. There's ectoplasm.
Coming in at number 9 is Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 originally released on the PlayStation 1 in 1998, but it didn't receive a Platinum trophy until the remake was released for the PS4 in 2019. Resident Evil 2 puts you in the shoes of Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield. Depending on which character you choose at the beginning, the story will differ slightly, but it is more or less the same regardless of which character you choose. Resident Evil 2 largely takes place in the Raccoon City Police Department, with hallways full of zombies and the very first appearance of the Lickers.
I wonder if I had to have gotten here before Leon, right? Son of a biscuit eater. There we go. Bon appetit, dude.
As if the Lickers weren't enough to keep you on your toes, Mr. X wanders the hallways of the police department indefinitely, looking for any reason to chokeslam someone out of existence. Despite the new AI given to Mr. X in the remake, he isn't that hard to outrun, and you only have to worry about him at the end of Leon's campaign when he becomes nearly invulnerable and serves as the final boss fight for the Leon campaign. Claire's campaign is largely the same, but she spends most of her time saving Sherry from the G-Virus before facing off against the final form of Dr. Birkin. Upon successfully schwacking both bosses, you can get the secret ending, which shows Claire, Leon, and Sherry skipping off into the sunset and living happily ever after. The overall time sink for this platinum is approximately 18 hours, and if I would have been more efficient with my playthroughs, I probably could have shortened that a lot further. Despite the vast majority of these trophies in this game being achievable in a single playthrough, most trophy hunters like myself will be looking at 4 to 5 playthroughs of both campaigns in order to earn this platinum trophy, and I'll tell you, it's definitely worth it.
Should turn the lights on in this sucker. Okay, he's dead. You gonna get up? I was gonna say, he should not be able to get up. I literally just blew him. You know what? Hit him again. Third time's the charm. You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
At number 8, we have Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 originally released on the PlayStation 3 in 2009 and was remastered for the PlayStation 4 in 2016. Resident Evil 5 is the first game in this series that featured couch co-op and is the main reason why I remember this game as fondly as I do. The game starts off with a very cinematic yet horrifying intro that shows a hooded figure force-feeding an African man a parasite before introducing us to our protagonists.
My name is Sheva Alomar.
Oh, yes it is. Look at those cannons.
Precedes you, Mr. Redfield. It's an honor.
The pro tags for this game are Chris Redfield and Sheva Alomar, two BSAA operatives that have been paired together to investigate a potential bioengineered pandemic that has been released in the heart of Africa. Throughout the game, Chris and Sheva must face a crazed African population that is infected with Ouroboros. This virus takes control of the villagers' mind, sending them into a rage that only seems to activate whenever a non-infected person is nearby. Either way, the duo spends the entire game fighting progressively tougher Majini that all have their own signature attack methods. While the base enemies vary to a great degree, the bosses don't actually change that much. Most of them are very easy to deal with since defeating them requires the use of mounted weapon systems or game-provided space lasers. However, the main boss in the game can be brutally difficult to defeat and has some of the greatest dialogue in video game history.
Don't you two ever tire of failing in your mission? You've really become quite an inconvenience for me.
Yes, we're talking about Daddy Wesker. Wesker is hands down my favorite Resident Evil character, and while he isn't actually playable in this game, he eats up a majority of the screen time as the main villain. I mean, honestly, nobody can disagree that aside from Albert Wesker, the main villains in Resident Evil have kind of sucked. Even with the greatest RE villain of all time adding hours to this trophy run, the Platinum Trophy takes approximately 35 hours to complete and is a goated option if you were trophy hunting with friends. Here it is! Here it is! The greatest scene in cinematic history!
Just hold on, Sheva.
Chilling at number 7 is Resident Evil 0. Resident Evil 0 originally released on the GameCube in 2002 and serves as the prequel to Resident Evil HD. This game puts you in the shoes of a convict named Billy and Rebecca Chambers, the single worst character in the Resident Evil universe. Despite my hatred of the main character, she helps us Tokyo drift a train right into the Spencer Mansion. While in the mansion, our duo has to face a multitude of zombie variations that include base zombies, hunters, and some gosh damn zombie monkeys.
Fuck, I'm in a corner. I'm in a corner. Nobody puts Billy in a corner. Get off of me. No! No! Motherfucker!
As if those simian weren't enough, the final boss in the game, the Leech Queen, is a two-phased boss that requires a premier sense of Resident Evil knowledge in order to beat her, and is the primary reason for my hatred of Rebecca Chambers. During the final boss fight, while Rebecca turns a set of valves, the game continuously switches to a mid-fight cutscene. The problem is that while Billy stops what he is doing during the cutscene, the Leech Queen gets to move around in the background. This oftentimes leads to Billy getting pimp slapped by the Leech Queen mid-cutscene and taking unavoidable damage. On the easier difficulties, this isn't too much of a problem, but on hard, it can lead to deaths that are impossible to avoid no matter how good you are at Resident Evil. Needless to say, this Platinum kicked me in the teeth and had me convinced it was the hardest in the series. In reality, the only part of the Platinum that is difficult is the trophy for beating the game on hard, which after multiple attempts really isn't that big of a deal anyway. The overall time sink for this Platinum is approximately 65 hours. When I Platinumed this game originally, I hadn't started handing out trophy awards yet, but had I been doing it at the time, I would have given the Splendiferous Treasure Award for Best Trophy in the game to 2020 Vision. 2020 Vision is for killing 50 enemies with Wesker's Death Stare. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that this is the only Resident Evil game that lets you play as Wesker during the main campaign without using mods. At number 6 is Resident Evil Revelations 2. Resident Evil Revelations 2 released on PlayStation 3 and 4 in 2015, and was an episodically released game that bridged the gap between the events of Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. To be fair to Capcom, this game came out at a time when everybody wanted to be the next Telltale Games and release their games in a manner that allowed them to receive cash up front, while they continued to make and release the rest of the game periodically. Despite this unfavorable release decision, this game is pretty damn good and features two semi-intertwining campaigns. The A campaign features Claire Redfield and Moira Burton, two employees of the TerraSave company that find themselves getting kidnapped and held prisoner on an Alcatraz-esque island. This campaign is set 6 months in advance of the B campaign and technically is concluded before the B campaign even begins. The B campaign features Barry Burton and Natalia Corda 6 months after the events of Campaign A. During this campaign, Barry develops a fatherly bond with the 12-year-old Natalia as he searches the island for his daughter Moira. Early on in the story, he discovers that Natalia has superhuman powers that allow her to sense enemies and that the main villain in the game is searching everywhere on the island for her. Unfortunately, that's about as much as I can say about the main villain without spoiling a big reveal, but I can say that the final boss fight for this game is peak Resident Evil. The Platinum Trophy itself is not too difficult and can be completed in approximately 30 to 40 hours. The best part of this game is that it features 2 additional campaign modifiers that net you an additional 8 trophies. One modifier is Countdown Mode, which is the equivalent to a speedrun, except if your timer hits 0, you have to start the level all over again. The other game modifier is Invisible Enemy Mode, which is exactly what it sounds like. All of the enemies have been turned invisible and can only be seen if you shoot them or if you shine your light/Natalia powers on them. Oh, and this game modifier is automatically set to Real Survival difficulty, the hardest difficulty in the game. However, if you could stomach these modifiers and grinding out a bunch of medals on each mission, you might just find that Revelations 2 is one of your favorite Resident Evils. And there it is! First try, baby! First try! Come on! Let's freaking go! Let's freaking go! Coming in at number 5 is Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 released for the PlayStation 4 in 2017 and then was given a PS5 upgrade in 2022. This is the first Resident Evil game to take place entirely in first person, and it directly intensifies the horror atmosphere. Most Resident Evil fans would say that this is the scariest game in the series, and I'm definitely inclined to agree. Let me just give you a couple lead aspirins, baby. Take that headache away. Why would you say that? Now I kind of feel bad. Gosh damn it, I'm gonna feel really bad when I teabag you real quick. I mean, one final teabag for the old lady after years of it. Is this considered necrophilia? Oh, shitballs! The game takes place primarily in a mansion in southern Louisiana, as our protagonist Ethan Winters searches for his missing wife. While searching for his missing wife in this abandoned mansion, not only does his wife attack him with what appears to be superhuman regenerative abilities, but he is also attacked by a family of cannibals that lives here. Throughout the night, Ethan has to solve puzzles while simultaneously balancing searching for his wife and massacring this family, one cannibal at a time. Ultimately, Ethan is successful in defeating the family, but depending on choices that you make in the game, he may or may not have been successful in saving his wife. Clearly not Chris Redfield. There's no way that man is Chris Redfield.
What took you guys so long?
That might be Jason Redfield, Chris Redfield's younger brother, but that ain't Chris Redfield. I'll tell you that right now.
Ethan?
Hey, what's up, baby? You made it!
Yeah. You made it. I'm glad.
Did I?
With yet another helicopter ending in the books, the overall time sink for this Platinum Trophy is approximately 25 hours, if you exclude the over 50 hours of DLC. The Platinum is broken up across multiple playthroughs with limitations such as no healing, no using the item box, a 4-hour speedrun, and beating the game on Madhouse difficulty. So if you're looking for an amazing game, a few good scares, and an uber fun platinum to get over the course of a single weekend, Resident Evil 7 is probably the game for you. Freaking Evie. Whoa, lady!
Where do you think you're going?
Okay, so she's gotta have the ability to teleport too. Because she closed off both the entrance and the exit. Can't catch me. Complete the Mia videotape without being spotted by Marguerite. So there's another trophy down. That one's, you know, kind of just a testament to whether or not you're willing to wait. That's all that was. That right there was a trophy for showing up to the DMV at noon. That's all that was. Holding it down at number 4 is Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 released for the GameCube in 2005 and was given the full remake treatment in 2023. Resident Evil 4 is the only game that puts you in the shoes of one protagonist, and that protagonist just happens to be Leon S. Kennedy, officer of the law. If you're a human, he's here to save you, and if you're a zombie, he's here to slay you. What they forgot to mention is that if you happen to be a fellow officer, he'll probably fail to save you as well, which is exactly how we get introduced to this game. While Leon watches the police officer burn, he takes his turn singing them dirty rap songs and slaying hundreds of villagers in his search for the president's daughter. The president's daughter has been kidnapped by a religious cult that have all been injected with a parasite called Las Plagas. This parasite forces them to obey the Alpha leader's every order and gives them a nasty hankering to bash everybody's brains in. Upon finally saving Ashley, he spends the rest of his Spanish vacation pretending to actually enjoy saving Ashley over and over and over. Son of a bitch. Where are you taking her? This isn't even on hard. Well, I got a trophy for it, so that's good enough for me. Luckily, Leon has the chance to finally save Ashley after he destroys the cult leader for the final time and escapes the self-destructing castle via a skidoo. This coincidentally happens to be one of the only endings that doesn't involve a heart-filled helicopter ride. Despite the lack of a helicopter ride, Resident Evil 4 has the longest campaign of the series. I mean, no joke. The current world record speedrun for this game on a PlayStation 5 is 1 hour and 58 minutes, and I have absolutely no idea how that person did it.
You cheated. Pirate.
The Platinum Trophy includes a knife and pistol only run, a no heal run, an 8-hour speed run, and completing the game on most of the difficulties while achieving an S+ ranking. Despite the longer campaign and the 3 to 5 minimum playthroughs this Platinum will require, this game is stunning from start to finish. My time sink for this Platinum was approximately 60 hours, and it didn't feel like it at all. While I know that there are a ton of Resident Evil purists out there that scoff at the idea of a remake, don't listen to them. This remake is 110% better than OG Resident Evil 4. Because, let's be honest with ourselves, tank controls suck, and I don't care who knows it.
Last lesson starts right now.
Your final lesson's about to start too. Don't ever bring a freaking knife to a gunfight.
Time for the teacher to be taught. Are you ready?
There it is. You used to be a good guy. Defeat Jack Krauser. That's why you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, Jackie boy. And you definitely don't bring 2 knives to a rocket launcher fight. Let's go, baby. Scoring itself a bronze trophy at number 3 is Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil Village is the latest Resident Evil to be released, coming out in 2021 for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I'll be honest, I had a hard time on ranking this game in particular. It might be the fact that my daughter is due to be born in March, but this story rehooked me something fierce when I played it again on the channel. The story is a tale as old as time. A father looking for his kidnapped daughter, but it does it in a way that is a visceral horror experience, while also being able to tell a heartfelt story. At the beginning of the game, Ethan watches as his wife Mia gets murdered by his best friend Chris Redfield. To add insult to injury, Chris kidnaps his daughter Rose and takes Ethan captive. While transporting what is left of the family to a Neo Umbrella facility, the convoy is attacked, and Ethan stumbles his way into a nearby village, only to discover that it's been overrun by Lycans. These werewolf wannabes soon prove to be a rather moot problem when Ethan discovers that a cult leader has kidnapped his daughter and plans to use the powers of the 4 lords of the village to sacrifice her and resurrect her own daughter. This means that before saving his sweet baby Rose, he must defeat each of the 4 lords and take a flask from them in order to prevent the sacrifice. Each lord has their own superpowers that Ethan must overcome, but all of them pale in comparison to the ultimate powers that Mother Miranda wields in the final showdown. Without spoiling anything further, Ethan definitely earns the title of Daddiest Daddy in this game. The platinum time sink for this game is approximately 25 to 30 hours. It's another game that can be super short once you figure out the path and the locations of all the key items. The Platinum requires at least 4 runs, a no heal run, a knife only run, a 3-hour speed run, and a hardest difficulty run. Technically, the game also includes a mercenaries mode that you have to play, but I don't count that as a full playthrough. Honestly, the hardest run in the game is beating the game on Village of Shadows. But you can just use infinite ammo and some of the other bonus weapons in order to make this easier than the first playthrough of the game. Aside from a small amount of grinding required for the 2 mercenaries mode trophies, this platinum is fun from start to finish and might just make you cry.
There will be enough for everyone.
Okay. Hey, I'm okay with this. Whoa! Hey! Oh! Oh!
Oh, be careful what you wish for.
Oh, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this view. It's all you need to know. Like, believe it or not, this is not the weirdest predicament I've ever been in. The silver trophy at number 2 goes to Resident Evil HD. Resident Evil HD is a remaster of the original Resident Evil released for the PlayStation 1 in 1996. Set in the original Resident Evil mansion, the game puts you in the shoes of Jill Valentine and pre-daddy Chris freaking Redfield. The duo is supposed to be investigating a helicopter crash and are attacked by a pack of zombie dogs, forcing them to take shelter in the iconic Resident Evil mansion. Once inside the mansion, our character runs into the OG zombie with nothing but a knife to defend ourselves with.
Oh my gosh. Oh! Come on, I am on easy! How? Dude, where is the boulder punching Chris? I want the manly man. Not whatever this is. Oh, come on, dude. Oh, I'm gonna die. I am gonna die. What's the point of having a knife? It does nothing. Look at this. I'm stabbing him in the giblets. First kills are special to feed a zombie. Okay, I mean, at least I got a trophy for it. Is killing a zombie that hard in this game, or am I just an idiot? And who was this man witch right here?
After witnessing history in the making and then knifing the hell out of it, our duo works on finding a way out of the mansion. This adventure eventually has us fighting the Basilisk from Harry Potter in a random attic. During the Basilisk fight, Chris gets poisoned and we are forced to play as the single worst character ever in the Resident Evil universe.
Oh, fuck.
Serum. I remember seeing it. I'll be right back. Just hang in there.
Is the serum in the same location as it was when I had to get it for Tricky Dicky? Oh, come on, man. I have to play as Rebecca. This is some bullshit.
Saving Chris worked out well enough that the duo was able to reconvene in the secret underground laboratory and face off against the first tyrant in the Resident Evil universe. My overall time sink for this platinum was 65 hours, making it one of the longer runs in the challenge. The reason it takes so long is that even the most efficient Resident Evil players can only platinum this game in 4 playthroughs. Personally, it took me 6, but at a minimum you have to complete a knife-only run, a hunter-gatherer run, a hardest difficulty run, an invisible enemy run, a no-save run, and a 3-hour speed run. I think the hardest trophy in the game is for beating it on real survival difficulty, but even then, it's not that bad of a trophy once you get the hang of the game and know where all the items are located. I wasn't yet doing the trophy awards for games like this when I made this video, but if I was, I would have given the Splendiferous Treasure Award to Don't Stop Running. Don't Stop Running is for beating the game in 3 hours or less. Honestly, part of the reason that I rated this game so high is the fact that I just want to keep playing it over and over and over again until I can get a respectable speed run.
Come on, baby. We're right there. Back to the middle of the helipad. Got it. Come on. That's it. That's it. Every woman for herself. Sorry. I don't care. I'll look at those in a second. I swear. Every woman for herself basically means you just didn't save anybody. That's all it means.
Jill, you did it fine.
Yes, baby! Ink is for squids! Finish the game without saving! Don't Stop Running, finish the game in 3 hours! And Racing and Pacing, finish the game in 5 hours! Take That, Zombies, finish the game on normal difficulty or higher. Holy shit, I did it! Oh my gosh, I did it! I beat the game in less than 3 hours without saving.
Finally, at number 1 is Resident Evil Code Veronica. Code Veronica originally released on the Dreamcast in 2000 and didn't get a Platinum trophy until the game was re-released as Code Veronica X on PS3 and PS4. Resident Evil Code Veronica puts you in the shoes of Claire and Chris Redfield, which is a duo that makes so much sense, I'm surprised it's only been seen in one Resident Evil game. Code Veronica starts off with a scene ripped straight out of Resident Evil Apocalypse. After being taken captive and then waking up from her nap in the worst prison imaginable, Claire spends the next couple of hours dodging zombies and some guy named Steve that somehow manages to get worse the more he is on screen. This new duo gets separated multiple times, only to constantly run into each other throughout the night. After Claire saves Steve from a gas trap inside the mansion, he eventually returns the favor in what I can only describe as the cringiest yet funniest cutscene I've ever seen in a video game.
No!
Well, that's one way to deal with your daddy issues.
The only thing that could have made that scene any funnier was if he said daddy instead of father. Instead of that, Jim, we get a cargo hold boss fight against the proto-tyrant that ultimately ends with Steve crashing our plane into an umbrella facility in Antarctica. Once in the facility, it doesn't take long for Steve to flubber things up and need saving once again. After saving Steve from a date with Davy Jones, we finally get the chance to play as Chris Redfield. Chris's campaign is short, sweet, and full of boss fights. The final fight of which is against the big baddie that goes from a woman covered in flammable baby gravy to a gigantic firefly monster that can only be destroyed with the linear launcher.
That'll help. Oh, she can freaking fly now. Are you shitting me? Oh yeah, baby, come get some! Arrogant queen! Get freaking wrecked, baby!
My platinum time sink for this game was well over 100 hours. Unfortunately, this game is hard locked into tank controls, and as a modern gamer, this took me a while to get used to. As if the controls weren't tough enough, this game is hands down the hardest platinum trophy in the series. Despite the game not having any difficulty setting, some of the trophies are just brutal to achieve. The one trophy that will make or break your run is Weapon Crazy. This particular trophy is for unlocking the rocket launcher, which requires you to beat the game with an A ranking. In order to get the A ranking, you must beat the game in under 4 hours and 30 minutes, save Steve from the gold Luger trap, give the hemostatic medicine to Rodrigo, discover 100% of the map, refrain from ever using a first aid spray, and finally, you're not allowed to save the game even a single time. Achieving all of this in a single playthrough is mind-boggling and requires a massive amount of inventory management if you complete it without any glitches like I did.
430. I had to be a sub 430. Come on, give me it. Pop for me, baby. Pop for me. Yes, baby! I freaking did it! Get the rocket launcher! I finally got an A on Code Veronica. Holy shoot. That is a month of playing this every freaking night for 4 to 5 hours trying to get this game beat in less than 4 hours and 30 minutes without using a first aid spray and never saving. Oh. Yes! Final time, 4:02, baby! Freaking waxed that 4:30 by 27 whole ass minutes. Come get some, baby! Let's go!
With all that being said, my time with Resident Evil has finally drawn to a close. I might come back to the series to do Operation Raccoon City or Resident Evil 9 when it releases, but until then, I want to start working on some harder platinum trophies outside of the horror genre. Before we go, I want to give out 6 awards to the Resident Evil series. I've been doing these trophy awards for each game for a while now, but I've been holding these awards back for when I finally completed an entire series. I'll give the legendary Challenge of Challenges award for hardest platinum in the series to Code Veronica. As I said before, getting an A rank in the campaign was a doozy of a trophy, and I didn't even mention getting the A ranks in battle mode. I'll give the Electric Zombie Purple Zebra Award for easiest platinum trophy in the series to Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 3 felt more like an overpriced DLC than a full game, and none of the boss fights were even tough. I'll give the Premature Eplatulation Award for fastest platinum trophy in the series to Resident Evil 3. I personally platinumed Resident Evil 3 in about 10 hours, but if you know exactly what you're doing and just start the game on Inferno mode to get it over with, you could probably drop that time to around 6 hours. I'll give the I'm tired of all these motherfucking trophies in this motherfucking game award for longest platinum in the series to Resident Evil Revelations. I'm not kidding when I said grinding raid mode to level 50 cost me over 100 hours of my life that I can never get back. This is the reason that I hate raid mode, and I hate Resident Evil Revelations. I'll give the Polished Turd Award for my least favorite platinum to Resident Evil Revelations. I don't know what else to say other than I'd rather fight an African warrior in search of Shikaka than to ever play that game again. And finally, I'll give the Platinum Goat Award for my favorite platinum in the series to Code Veronica. Never in my life did I think that an OG game would be my favorite platinum in this series. Ever since young me bought Resident Evil 5, I've always just preferred the co-op Resident Evil games, but not anymore. Now, if only Capcom would pull their head out of their 5th point of contact and remake the damn game already. Long story short, if you are a fan of the Resident Evil franchise, I highly encourage you to attempt the Resident Evil Platinum Challenge. It's a great way to re-experience all of the classic games and dive headfirst into one of the greatest gaming franchises ever made. Comment down below what your ranking order would have been, and if you want me to attempt another franchise like GTA, Uncharted, or anything with at least 3 games in the series. Drop your suggestions in the comments down below, and it might just be our next adventure. Either way, if you like this video and you want to see me getting another Platinum Trophy, click the video on the left. If you want to watch all of these Platinum Trophy videos from start to finish, click one of the playlists on the right.